This is a Bulldog Radio podcast.
The Ferris State Bulldogs have upset the nation's #2 ranked team. Wide open! Taylor is going to take this one to the house! Touchdown Bulldogs!
It's the MVSP Season 4, Episode 33. Man, we're getting up there, Brandon. What a blast. We're going to have this episode for you. Jack Dunlap is coming on the show. Athletic trainer for Ferris State University. What a great conversation we had with him. But first, before we get into that, we got the Ferris State Sports Rundown.
Absolutely. A loaded weekend on deck to recap women's basketball and a little bit of a skid. We'll break down the losses they took this weekend, as well as men's getting back on track. A big sweep on the road against Saginaw and Wayne State, but even better, a hockey split in dramatic fashion on Saturday. Split. We'll break down why they got the Saturday win over the Friday win, as well as surprises in track and field. I know me and Joe made a wager, and I think now it has to be reviewed after some chaos that went down in Saginaw on Friday. So you're gonna have to stick
special stuff. Huh?
Yeah, you're gonna have to stick tuned and find out more for that, as well as subscribe to the show for more. You can follow at the MBSP on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as Instagram and Twitter, and wherever you follow on social media. But yeah, some big things went down, Joe, and you might have actually made a pretty bold call now, and you might owe me a Sammy, but we'll discuss that later in detail.
That's if they got gluten-free bread.
Yeah, hopefully we got to make sure we got to ask first, because that's always my problem. But great show on deck and certainly a great interview. So without further ado,
we'll swing into the interview.
Now joined in studio, we got assistant athletic trainer Jack Dunlap sitting in the chair across from us. Jack, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Nice to be here.
Jack, thanks so much for coming on. First question for you. It's your second year working for Ferris State Athletics. Can you just talk about a little bit of what's it's been like being in Big Rapids and helping out with Bulldog Athletics?
Yeah, it's cool. Technically, I think this is my third year. So I started in 2020, July. Was out in a school in Connecticut in Waterbury, small little town, small little school. And I actually... I worked out there for 4 years before I came here. Keely GLIAC, a former athletic trainer, she worked with me for 2 years. And when she worked here for 2 years, came here when the whole new athletic training staff came on board in I think 2018, 2019. Then we opened up a fourth position. She emailed me and was like, hey, I know you're looking to get close to home, getting close back to Chicago. So kind of hooked me up, gave me a little inside info on everything. So I kind of talked my way into a job here. But it's been great. Definitely cool. The old university I was at wasn't a powerhouse in most of the sports like Ferris State is. So it's definitely been a little bit of a transition, just kind of having to deal with postseason play and definitely having to get into postseason, everything like that. But no, Ferris State's been great. Big Rapids has been definitely a bit of a change. Grew up in Chicago, so grew up in a big city, went to school in St. Louis. So moving to a small town, definitely a little bit of a culture shock. But no, it's cool. Like the town, it seemed great community. Really nice that everybody supports the university and all the sports. I know usually, football, historically great. Volleyball's always got a good crowd going. Basketball is usually on the weekends. Get a decent crowd, and it was cool seeing the community come out and support soccer this past fall when we were going through that run, which was cool. Definitely nice to be sitting at a restaurant and something with my Ferris shirt on, and somebody be like, "Oh, do you work with?" I was like, "Oh yeah," and just kind of get talking, just like that. Countless times that's happened to me, which is cool. Just nice to see that people truly care about the sports up here and everything like that. So it's been nice. It's been really nice.
For sure. And even taking a step back, I know obviously a lot of people go through the early stages of high school, even prior to that, seeing what you want to get into, especially with your career. What was the moment in time and what really got you into doing athletic training in the first place?
So kind of weird, but like most athletic training students usually have kind of the same origin of when they want to become an athletic trainer. So my junior year of high school, during football season, I actually broke my right hand just playing football, and wanted to be around the team still. And my athletic trainer was there, so I started helping out in the training room. And then eventually he's like, do you want to kind of be a student trainer in training kind of thing, just kind of learn about it? So I ended up doing it, ended up liking it a lot. I always want to continue to be around sports. Knew I wasn't great athlete. Could have probably played D3, but ended up just going to school for it. But also never saw myself as someone who's going to cold call 500 people and try and sell.
No shot.
So it's cool. And being around sports, being at games, being at all the practices, it's nice to still have kind of an office job. Got to do some things, but more of an active working environment. So that was something that drew me to it. But yeah, probably the genesis of it would be my breaking my hand and just kind of being stuck on the sideline and helping out, and then being like, oh, this is cool. I like doing this. I like working with athletes, and still like being around sports. Obviously, big sports fan from when I grew up to now, and it's cool to make a career out of it in some aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with having to serve so many successful teams, like you mentioned before, what's it been like for your favorite memory or experience that you've gotten to have so far?
Favorite experience probably would be just the kind of run that the soccer team went on this past fall. Even just like the memories of just like being in the training room, talking with people, just kind of having those 3 or 4 kids in there and just shooting the crap and just kind of talking and having fun. Those are always great. And I have so many memories of that, regardless of what team it is. Couldn't even be my team. Talking with football players and stuff like that, who I don't necessarily oversee, but have tons of memories in that aspect. But as far as like an event, would probably be that run that the girls went on this fall. It was cool. Just felt like we were on the road for 5 weeks straight, and ended up in Seattle, which was a really cool experience. Being there with all their teams, it was once in a lifetime, and I'm really excited that the girls got to be a part of that, and I was able to share some of that experience with them.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of the great pictures and from that trip and just that whole experience. And one in particular was posted out, and I'm sure you probably know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
They let you bleach your hair with that whole run. How did that story come about? And what was like that? Was there a wager involved? If they make it, you get to bleach your hair?
So let me bleach my hair is kind of an understatement. But so we were in Cedarville in one of the practices. I think it was after our original win, kind of talking. It was rainy and just like pouring rain. So I was just messing around, just like doing stupid stuff with my hair, just like spiking it up in a mohawk. And someone was like, Jack, we should bleach your hair. And I was like sitting there. I was like, well, and I was thinking about it and I was like, no. And then I was like, you know what? If you guys make it to the Final Four, you guys can do whatever you want with my hair. Like you can do whatever. And went from bleached to bleached with red tips in the span of about 35 minutes of conversation with the girls. So, no, but it was cool. Just kind of an incentive. Don't want to say I was doubting them, but I mean, we were potentially on the bubble, and I was like, oh, did I expect that I was going to have to bleach my hair? Did I expect that they were going to hold me to it? No, but they did. And so a couple of the girls, shout out to Bella Sabo and Carissa Caribou. They helped me with the bleaching process, which was definitely an experience. I don't know if anyone, either of you guys have ever bleached your hair, but it's definitely
I can't say I have.
Definitely an experience. So,
and especially that really helps you build relationships with the players, and being able to build strong relationships kind of allows them to get a little bit more comfortable and kind of share, what's going on, especially helping them recover injuries and stuff like that. What have been some of like the things that have been help you build those relationships and make it so that way they can come to you if they have any problems?
I think it just my personality. I don't know. I'm always down to talk, down to hang out, crack jokes. I think me having a kind of looser personality when we're doing treatment and stuff like that kind of just helps them know that I'm there for them. I'm there to help them out. I'm there to be their friend, be their confidant. If anything happens, be it in sport or something going on in their personal life that they just kind of need someone to talk to. I know a couple of the girls have called me their therapist at times, just because, you're there for doing treatments for 45 minutes or so. You just get to talking. Usually when it's someone who's injured or something like that, you're seeing them multiple times a day, multiple days a week. So you just kind of build that relationship, and it's different. They can talk to me. I'm not a coach. I'm not an administrator. I'm there for them. I care about their health and well-being over anything. So it's nice to be able to build that. And I think I've done, hopefully my athletes would think that the same way and have that thought process of me. But nothing special, just kind of how I am. I think I do a decent enough job and haven't gotten too many complaints.
Love to see it. Right?
From what we've heard, you've done a great job, Jack.
Absolutely.
But especially with just having that resource of you being able to help treat, but now with the whole renovation with the cap and now having the new training room and all the new resources, how big has that been really for the whole athletic training team as a whole? It's
cool. It was this year. So we were out of the main athletic training room for about 6 months, from January to last year to about August of this year. We were working out of a kind of a hodgepodge athletic training room, old storage room, that we just put our beds in and just kind of got through it. But it was cool. This fall going into camp, it kind of reinvigorated everybody in the athletic training department, and just like, we got all this new stuff. Let's hit it hard. Let's make sure we're doing everything we can for the athletes, using all these new gadgets that we got, stuff that we hadn't had in the past that we weren't able to use. Not that we were bare bones before, but we've definitely upped our treatments, our modalities. Couple nice new toys that we got, which were definitely beneficial for the athletes because just we didn't have access to them in the past, and now we're. I think between Dylan, Brady, and Brett and I think we've done a good job utilizing all that, and I think it's shown on the field and on the court so far, just with the success. I know it's a small part of the success equation, but I mean, it's definitely helped out. And I mean, the cap is crazy. It's great. You can go in there and do some rehab exercise and stuff like that in a bigger space. But yeah, the whole new facelift definitely helped out us, helped out the program. Now it's not a place on tours where the coaches be like, oh yeah, that's the athletic trainer. Now they can come in and see, and like, oh, look at all this branded stuff. It's cool. Got all these nice new gadgets. So it's been nice to see some new faces down there. Coaches, even recruits when they come on campus, kind of be like, hey, what's going on? Kind of meet them before they end up coming down. So it's been nice.
It's cool.
Absolutely. And you have a wide variety of skills under your name when you look at your bio on the website, dry needling, ultrasound, electrotherapy. What are the benefits that the athletes can see from those? And, what was that like learning those techniques?
So it's cool. Like the ultrasound and electrotherapy, stim and all that stuff. That's stuff that we learn in school. So I went through my 5 years of my master's program and learned all that stuff. But like the dry needling, there's like active release type stuff that you can do continuing education courses for, and that can definitely, that's always beneficial. Get another certificate. The dry needling was something I did at my old school. It was cool. It was a 27-hour course over the span of a weekend. For 27 hours, just sticking people with needles and learning all that stuff. So it's cool. No, but that's one of the most beneficial things I think that I put in my toolbox. The dry needling, I think it really helps benefit the athletes. Some people like it. People who don't like needles don't necessarily like it too much, but we try to avoid that on them as much as possible. Just don't want to have any tense people when you're sticking them with needles, but no, yeah. So all that other stuff, it's just something to help with recovery, with soreness, with ligament injuries as far as that all goes. But it's all this stuff is just built around or just built to get the athletes back on the field, on the court, anything like that. So don't necessarily want to get into the minutia and all the
sure,
everything I learned in my 4 years in college, or my 5 years in college. So but just if anyone ever wants to learn about it, usually the athletes will ask me about it, can give them a little rundown, but don't want to bore the listeners.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it's definitely one of the top ones when they think of athletic training. The bread and butter, as Joe likes to call it, the tape job.
Yeah.
Are you the fastest guy when it comes to taping ankles, or is there a competition between the trainers who the fastest taper is? Or
No, I think honestly the most efficient would probably be Brett. Just having to, we'll tape anywhere from 20 to 40 athletes a day just out of football, ankles, stuff like that. Not necessarily a competition when it comes to that stuff. Sometimes like we have students who help us out, like our student medical workers, student medical aides. They'll ask us if like we can do a blindfold and stuff like that. And I mean, I've tried doing it once or twice. I could definitely get the right steps. Does it look the prettiest? No. But yeah, I mean, with that, there's a balance you got to strike, because you got to be fast, but it's got to be right, and it's got to look and feel right for the athlete. So try to take our time, but sometimes it's the third quarter and of the basketball game, somebody rolls their ankle, you got to get them back out there to get another shift on the court. So it's definitely a balance between speed and efficiency.
What's the most like that you've done like in a row? I know you said like 20, 30 usually, but is there times where you're like ripping 60, 70 ankles?
No, 60, 70 ankles. No, I mean, and it's usually with the football guys, I'll help out and jump in and everything like that. And I think the most I've ever done was we had a game with an away team whose athletic trainer couldn't travel for whatever reason. So I think I did 12 kind of back to back between their team and our team. So I mean, that's probably a half hour worth of work, 40 minutes, depending on when they come in and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever done 60.
Yeah, didn't have to do the marathon or anything with that one.
No, nothing like that.
Yeah. And especially, for fans, when they see a player go down on the field, it's always a scary sight. Yeah. But what's kind of going through your mind when you're walking out? Are you kind of hoping that it's kind of minor? Is it sometimes the player's milking it a little bit, or what's kind of going through your mind there?
So it's you got to know who the athlete is. What if they're dealing with anything? If there's something that you've been working with them for the past week or so, a couple weeks. Usually, when it goes through my head, if I see it, I can kind of have an idea of what's going on when I'm going out there. So if it's a knee injury or an ankle injury, sometimes you can see kind of the mechanism of the injury, if they got hit, if they didn't. So you kind of have an idea when you go out there. And then when I get out there, I just try to make sure the athlete's as calm as possible, kind of go through just make sure they're breathing all right, everything like that. Kind of go through quick things that's like, you feel like you have a feeling in the leg, you have everything like that. Basically try to get initial eval if I need to go out there for an emergent situation, if I need to call the ambulance, anything like that. Luckily, I haven't had any of that here, which is good. Most of the time, it's just like, all right, can we get you off the court so I can do a more thorough evaluation rather than try to put you through all these tests when we're sitting in the middle of the court, sitting on the middle of the field. But no, I never like to go out there thinking people are milking it. But sometimes people are just trying to get people a little breather. Sometimes you kind of know, just like, all right, why don't we sit here for a second? The flow of the game kind of dictates. Maybe we take a little half second, try to get everybody a breather, and then just get back out there. So it's all situation dependent. Usually, if it's a serious thing, when you're getting out there and you're running out there, rather than sometimes when you see someone go down with like a hamstring or something like that, you can kind of take your time a little bit getting out there, because usually if you see somebody running, it kind of amps everything up. It's like, oh no, what's wrong? You don't want to put the athlete in that position, especially if they don't need to be.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, Jack, we appreciate your time. We got the final question for you. We ask everyone we bring on the show this question. What's been your favorite thing about being here at Ferris State and being a Bulldog?
My favorite thing about being at Ferris State and being a Bulldog, that'd probably just be just the athletes, just getting to know everybody, getting to know the culture of the program, of the university. There's not too many people. I don't think there's anybody that I wouldn't consider a friend in this whole program, be that athletes, administrators, coaches. Feel like I can go out and talk to everybody. So it's nice. It's been cool. But yeah, probably the favorite thing is just the relationships that I've built with everybody.
Very cool.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jack, for coming on, taking time out. Hopefully everything goes well. No injuries happen this upcoming weekend, but definitely excited to see you out there.
For sure, man. It was great to be here. Look forward to listening to you guys continuing on.
Big thanks to Jack for jumping on the pod with us. I really enjoyed talking with Jack. I mean, getting to know him as well as him being a former athletic trainer. My early years with cross country and track certainly is great to have him in the room. And I mean, I think the biggest thing, Joe, is like, I know we've had interactions with him outside. I mean, he's the same in the chair in the podcast as he is in normal conversation. I love that about him.
He's a class act, man. He's a grade A guy. Love to see it. It was nice meeting him for the first time and be able to have that conversation. But yeah, he's a great guy. Love to have him around.
Absolutely. We can't wait to have all of our more special guests coming on the program. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all these exclusive interviews, as well as all of the in-depth coverage of Ferris State athletics, which speaking of which, let's jump right in, Joe. Let's
basketball.
Might as well start with Jack's sport. Let's go with basketball here, starting on the men's side.
Clean sweep.
Yeah. Double down this weekend. Big wins against Saginaw and Wayne State. Much needed wins. If you want to be a good team, you got to take care of the teams down at the bottom of the table and the teams that are lurking within as well. With Saginaw, they were right behind us in the standings going into this game. But I think the biggest thing was, I mean, right now, Solomon Aregbu has really been the key scorer for this team. He didn't have the greatest night at Saginaw. He was still the leading scorer with 17 points, but I thought Ben and Michael really did a great job really supporting that starting five at that game on Thursday.
Yeah, especially, I mean, if you look at it, a lot of the guys really popped out. Vegas was the only one that really didn't hit double digits on the starting five. Jimmy, too, with 11. I think with the way that this team is really developing, and especially with the lack of, reserves that we've had the past like 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, we've had guys come back now with Ethan Erickson kind of coming back off injury reserve. Now you have guys who have really developed in that 2-week span to the point now where you're just adding back the pieces and it's just going to be even better. But yeah, Michael coming off with a 12-point performance, that's big time. He went 2 for 2 from 3, which was big time. I know he's been struggling with that recently. Ben also 1 for 2, but getting 11 points. When you have guys that are slowing down a little bit on the scoring, especially with Solomon, but I mean 17 points, that's not really slowing down. But for him, who's averaging, almost 20 points a game, that's, not as what we always like to see from him. But there's going to be times where, guys are slowing down and it's got to be picked up from somewhere else. But yeah, this one's a big time win.
Yeah, definitely. Not our finest rebounding performance. We only had 39, which I believe is the lowest since the Lake Superior game back on January 7th. But overall, the shooting was pretty efficient. 3-point percentages obviously could have probably been better. Ethan Erickson was back in the lineup. He struggled just a little bit in his first game back since going out with injury for 2 of 9 from 3. But I think just seeing that aggressiveness from him, and especially some of the guys off the bench, just that determination to keep going and really trying to find your mark throughout the game, because a lot of these guys, they might not necessarily have the same stat lines as you would have, but I mean, Solomon Aregbu having 7 boards, I mean, those were crucial, especially in that matchup. Reese Hazelton only had 5 in the point column, but ended up finishing with 6 rebounds, or I believe was 6th on the team or not 6th on the team, 2nd on the team overall with the 6. But you definitely saw that improve against Wayne State. But I think especially with that Saginaw Valley game, it really wasn't the cleanest basketball game, and especially from hearing, and you'll get to hear that from Coach Bronkham on his thoughts here in a second. But I think just the way that game went about, you knew it wasn't going to be a clean game. You knew you're going to have to scrap and scrap and scrap. And the fact that this team out-scrapped the Cardinals on their home floor, I think can just show you really how dominant this team can be, even if they're not clicking at their highest level.
Yeah, I think so. And it's, I mean, you see too, I mean, we're a very high scoring game, and when the threes aren't falling, it kind of changes up a little bit of what the game plan is going to be. But I think when you see that, we're able to really get gritty with it, and we're able to get gritty with it. That's fun. I'm so immature, Joseph. Anyways, but you're able to see a team that's really getting down into the dirty with it, and you're going to be able to see just really pushing out wins that are not pretty, but they're going to get the job done. And then, like you always say, Brandon, a sloppy W is way better than a clean L, which is absolutely what you like to see. And especially with a GLIAC that's really getting close to, GLIAC play with the playoffs coming up. You definitely want to get every win that you can, especially with who's coming to town this weekend. But yeah, not the greatest performance, I'd say, offensive wise, but I think our defense really showed out.
Yeah, especially in the Saginaw game, which we got to hear from Coach Bronkham in the post game, and certainly in an unorthodox matchup. They had to out-grit. They didn't play their best, but they still got the job done. Take a listen.
It was a hard-fought effort. Both teams played extremely hard, and it was kind of a weird game of runs, and there was rhythms at points in the game for both teams, but it was pretty choppy, and that's just a classic GLIAC battle. So I mean, if you look at the stat sheet, it's pretty even across the board. It's just a play here or there, and I don't think we played perfect. I would have liked to do some things better, but they put an interesting pressure on you in a lot of areas, and you can't relax, otherwise they get you. They get in the middle of the lane, and you got to be good on your coverages. So give them a lot of credit for making it choppy. And I thought there was a couple times where we looked like maybe we were going to get out and go, and then I don't think I substituted very well today either. It's just I like all the players. I want to put them all in there, but we got to get a better rotation. And we got to get some people that are stars in their roles.
Yeah, I definitely would have see that. Having those guys come back now, you have Dunlap and obviously you have Ethan, getting them back in the rotation. But for a lot of these guys playing super well going into this matchup, certainly. But I think you definitely saw a lot better of a overall performance. Probably it's definitely not as clean as Thursday, ironically, with this Wayne State game, Joe. But you started to see some guys kind of getting back to their true roles and really seeing them play the basketball that we've seen them all season. Obviously, with Dunlap coming off the bench, providing a spark in the rebounds, especially in those key moments. Michael Bingham, I thought, was really good, especially with his 11 points. But you're starting to see now that some of these guys really filing back into their role, and especially in that Saturday game, finding your true identity. And while it still didn't go the same way with that overall, only shooting 47%, 26 from three, some teams would be happy with. Obviously, for our program, that's not successful whatsoever. But still getting the job done, beating Wayne State on the road in Detroit, and picking up a W is huge for the program, as Joe might say. But definitely just being able to outgrit teams, especially beat them on the boards like you saw against Wayne State. That's what you need would take out some of these big teams down the stretch.
And the encouraging thing is as you get later on the season, especially with March coming up, and if you're able to make the NCAA tournament, but conference tournaments as well, not every one of them is going to be pretty. You're always going to have the upset factor. So when you're not playing good and you're the favorite in something, that's what we had last year. Davenport was 8. We were number 1 going into the tournament. Davenport upset us. We didn't have the greatest game. It's just really bearing down the hatches, battling it out, playing what you need to do. You're not going to shoot 40, 50% from 3 each game. No. That's not going to happen. Although that's what we like to see, and that's what we have seen so far from this team. When we have these bad shooting opportunities for us, it's just a defense that's really got to step up. And when you got guys like Dunlap who can really provide a spark off the bench, like you said, when you got guys like Amari Lee who's shifty, can make chances happen off the dribble, when you got Solomon who's really starting to come to as one of the best guards, if not the best guard in the GLIAC right now, you're going to have a lot of guys that are going to step up, might have to switch up their roles a little bit. But I think really with how you're solidifying the team right now, you're going to see a team that's going to make a lot of noise. We're right at the top or right behind Northern right now in the GLIAC standings after this weekend. We're 6-3. They're 7-2. They're coming to town this weekend, which we'll talk about more Thursday or whatever our next day. I forget our new film recording schedule, to be honest.
It's all over the place right now.
It's going to be a very big weekend for both the men's and women's, but yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a good one, and I'm very excited to see what we're going to do. But some scores from around the GLIAC, Brandon, if you want to hear some of these.
Yeah, yes.
Absolutely. Grand Valley State upset win over Northern Michigan's 82-77. Lake State getting the W over Wayne State on Thursday, 69-60. Davenport winning against Michigan Tech with a high-scoring 90-77 matchup. And then Saturday, Lake State took on Saginaw. They got the bounce-back win, 79-73. Saginaw Valley did, Grand Valley State got the weekend sweep, 74-61 over Michigan Tech on Saturday. Davenport fell to Northern Michigan, 89-74. And Parkside and Purdue Northwest Parkside lost to Purdue Northwest 90-82.
That's a big upset as well. A lot of upsets this weekend, Joe. And that
but not for us.
Yes, we took care of business, and the other teams unfortunately flopped, and that's going to help us huge. As now we jumped all the way from, I believe,
I think we were third or fourth.
Yeah, we were fourth going in this weekend. Now we're all the way up to second, just
big
like
time.
that. It's how it rolls. Sometimes you got to take care of some of these teams, and it'll work out its favor in the end. Because right now we have tied for the most wins in the GLIAC with Northern Michigan overall. Just with that little skid we had up in the UP, is really the only thing that has set us back. And now it's time for revenge this weekend. Thursday is the start of it. That's going to be a huge game. We're going to make sure that we get all the students we can for this game because it is going to be massive against Michigan Tech. And then Saturday, even bigger. Northern Michigan comes back to town at 3:00. That's going to be in a loaded day of Ferris Athletics, which will touch the rest of that schedule here in just a minute. But anyway, moving on over now into women's, maybe not the greatest weekend you would say, definitely, and really just a short phrase, definitely going to be a learning curve that you're going to reflect on here for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's a tough part, especially when you get on a 3-game skid after going on like, what was it, a 3-4 game? It was like, we went 4-2 in 6 games or something like that. So we had a little bit of a run going, and then when you get to the point where you're playing some of these better teams in the GLIAC and some of those teams that, might be a little bit gritty, it's tough because our scoring has kind of been hot and cold. Really, either we're going to hit every 3 we take, or we either just don't hit a single thing. And then we really got to focus with Chloe down low. And the hard part about that too is teams can really kind of shut her down if they double or triple team her or something like that. So it's kind of more just kind of being more, multifaceted in the way of scoring and just trying to get that going a little bit. It's going to be tough, especially as the season has already progressed and it's not going to be the easiest thing as you're kind of getting the second half of the season. Not to mention you have Michigan Tech, who's near the top of the table in the GLIAC for women's basketball, going to be coming to gym week at the end of this week. But I think when you really look at it, it's just going to be making the scoring opportunities when needed. I think Saginaw, they went, what you said, Brandon, like 1 for 12 or something at the start.
That'd have been the Wayne game. Yeah,
the Wayne game, yeah.
Still, I mean,
regardless, but sorry, I thought you were going to.
Oh no, I thought you were going to. I know.
You can go.
We're working on it, but no, I think when especially look at the Saginaw game, and obviously Coach Westendorp really summed it up the best, and you'll hear from him in just a second. But it was a tale of two halves, really. We absolutely dominated that first half. We were up, I believe, 33-20, or it would have been 33-28 at the break, 15-8 after the first 10. I think that was just an absolutely great start, which we haven't had a couple of those. We've really been more of a second half team throughout the majority of the season so far. So that hot start was great, but Saginaw really made some great adjustments there to end up leading to a little bit of a blowout win. But I mean, you definitely look at the stat sheet and you can definitely see some things that really just pointed out. I mean, 30% from the floor overall. That's a really tough mark if you're going to win a basketball game, shooting 30%. I mean, we took care of that business from the line, shooting 76, 10-13. That was huge. Got out rebounded, turned the basketball over more, didn't shoot as well, and got dominated in the paint. That's a really hard recipe to try to get a W against some of these great GLIAC programs. Yeah, and especially when you look at like Saginaw Valley and Wayne State, they're a team I feel like that can that can really do better with the layup side of it. I think that's the one. I think we've talked about it too. Just one thing that we've been struggling with is at contact, and especially with kind of having a little bit of opposition, we're not the best at scoring that. However, there's room for improvement there. You can really just work on that, especially later in the game. That's what you need. But when we're able to get on runs at the start. Excuse me, my mouth is getting so dry. It's like 75 degrees. Joe is also missing his legendary Yeti cup. Yeah, that is the most unfortunate thing on planet Earth.
Side note, I forgot it in class. I put it down and I did not put it back in my backpack, and I left and I got to my car and I was just like,
oh no.
That was like a quarter-mile walk I just did. Like, I don't want to go back. And I was like, is it worth the 35 or like the $30 that my Yeti cup was? And then regardless, we're on the struggle bus. Okay. And I don't feel like spending more money on a cup. I'm worried I'm going to lose it again. And regardless, Joe's struggling.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's one thing too, is that our team has kind of been struggling with that lately, but we got Michigan Tech coming. And I think that's going to be the biggest opportunity for a bounce back. It's going to be the biggest opportunity to get some momentum under our feet. And I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to get 2 big wins this weekend and get right back on track.
Yeah, especially with that Saginaw game Thursday. We talked the 2 players that we needed to watch on their side. Tori DePerry finished with 22. Caitlin Zaricki finished with 35 points. So that was a pretty rough go about it. Those 2 definitely dominant. But I mean, it was a tale of 2 halves. And that's what Coach Westendorp had to say in the postgame.
Well, exactly. We knew that Saginaw Valley was a good defensive squad, and they really showed it in that second half. In the first half, we were getting some good things. We were moving the ball well. We were cutting well. In the second half, we got stagnant, and they play with energy. They get their hands on you. They make it tough on you. They make it uncomfortable. And they did an excellent job on the defensive end in the second half.
Yep. Defense wins in the second half, and I think that's something that we've showed quite a bit overall this season for ourselves, but certainly Saginaw got the best of us. And then obviously Wayne State certainly was just an absolutely uphill climb that you can see just from the stat sheet, and really kind of looking at the game a little bit. There was just a lot of moments of stagnisticity. Is that a word? I'll just make it up in the Urban Dictionary right now. Stagnisticity is the word. I'll trademark it right now. But I mean, yeah, I heard one stat here from, and I double checked it here. We shot 1 of 15 in the first quarter against Wayne State. 1 of 15 on field goals. We did not make a single 3-point shot out of 7 tries, and we had only 2 other free throws to get us to the 4 points. We were down 13-4 after the first frame, but climbed right back, got into a really good position at halftime, only trailing by 2. Wayne State got out to a little bit of a run. And then eventually, after we climbed back, they closed it down the stretch with a couple big plays in the final minutes and end up getting the W. And that just was a really heartbreaker for how well that team gritted their way back. And especially Kenzie Bowers had a really good performance on Thursday. It wasn't necessarily her day on Saturday, but Elle Irwin really stepped up, 3 for 6 beyond the arc for 14 points. But I think definitely you saw how gritty that team it can be. We can see now we can be in all these games, regardless of how poorly the game is going on, how the flow is getting disrupted, but they're still finding a way to get themselves back into these games. That's going to be huge in tournament time. Just got to be able to finish these games.
Yeah, that's going to be the big story of it, and we'll see how it goes. But some scores from around the GLIAC on Thursday. Lake Superior State fell to Wayne State 53-52. That was a close thriller. Wow, that was really close.
Big
a lot closer than I thought that was going to be. Michigan Tech beat Davenport in a pretty convincing fashion, 76-58 in Houghton. Or is it Houghton or Houghton?
I call it Houghton.
I think it's Houghton.
I think so too.
I might get like angry Tech fans or something like that.
Oh yeah, don't say.
There's obviously Tech fans listening to this podcast. So we'll call it Houghton. However it may be. Grand Valley State did the business against Northern Michigan, 45-38. Low scoring affair there. Wow. Grand Valley did not get the weekend sweep as Michigan Tech wins 57-56. 2 close ones. Dang, that's wild. Crazy stuff. What is up with Wayne? I just noticed that Wayne State is literally the best team in the entire probably Division II at winning 50-point ball games. Yeah,
they did it twice this weekend.
Up right now,
and I'm pretty sure they did it multiple times before. So I guess they just rely on their defense.
Near the bottom though. Wild.
I know, isn't that? Yeah, they know how.
They're not good in the GLIAC, but they're pretty good overall. They're like 10-7, but they're 3-6 in the GLIAC.
That's crazy. I'm gonna double check that while you go over the rest of the scores. But I mean, they're really good at winning these 50 games. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah, Saginaw Valley put the clamps on Lake State, 70-50 win for them. They get the weekend sweep. Parkside beat Purdue Northwestern in OT thriller 86-82. Wild stuff for them. And then Northern Michigan 57, Davenport 46, another low scoring one. But Northern Michigan, I think, is sitting, just above us, right by Saginaw Valley, which is wild. Grand Valley State and Michigan Tech near the top of the table, 8-1, both for them. Parkside's at 7-2, Northern Michigan at 6-3, Saginaw Valley 5-4, and then we're at 4-5, and then everybody else is below us.
That is the Wayne State's third game on the season. They've won with both teams scoring in the 50s, and I believe they've won 4 out of 5 when both teams have scored less than 65. So defensive matchups have been owned by the Warriors, believe it or not. This is pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. That's a stat for you right there.
Defense wins championships, though. That's all I'm saying.
That is true. Which, if you like stats, you might want to follow our social medias because we've had some
Wild
bangers.
Stat Wednesday,
Wild
baby.
Stat Wednesday has been great.
Wednesday.
Yeah, we've had some great stats and all. We've got a lot of appreciation from that. So make sure you subscribe to social media so you don't miss out on any of those. Which last week we found out Noah Giesbrecht is the 12th best goaltender in the country, and he showed it on Friday night on the ice.
That is true. That is true. Giesbrecht really showed out. It was a tough looks for the Ferris State hockey team on Friday as we lost 1-0. That was a close battle. It was really chippy. Thought we were going to be able to net one near the end, but it was just a little bit of a rebound by Michigan Tech at the end of the first period. That was the lone goal of the game. However, if you look at the box score, Giesbrecht got he was 38 saves or
something? Was really good. Fantastic.
33 saves on 34 shots, which is wild. Pietila also in the running for the best goaltender in the CCHA and best goaltender in the country. He was 21 for 21 on the first night. That one just was a tough matchup. I feel like I think the refs the game was getting out of hand for a little bit on both nights. I feel like the refs were kind of struggling to keep control of it, which is not what you like to see. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people can agree for those who showed up. I will give props for credit where credit is due. Tech travels well. Yeah. Tech travels, man. They had their own student section. That was like 12-hour drive, 9-hour drive to Houghton. That's wild.
And they showed up big time. They were certainly making really feel like a home environment for them. But our students... Our students did a good job,
too. The bright side, I think our students got so ashamed of being so bad at being a student section that we actually started chants, dude.
Yes.
That was big time.
Yeah, look at that. You guys showed up on Saturday, which we need you big time because it is so obvious. I mean, I hate to just keep beating a dead horse, but we play better when fans show up.
It is.
And this was a prime example of that happening.
Yeah.
Not as many showed up on Friday night. More showed up on Saturday.
Yeah.
And we won Saturday and lost Friday.
Yeah, what a thriller too. I feel like when you win close games like that, it's gonna really get people on the outside. I mean, I know, especially listening to the post game as I was kind of there for Daniels, he's saying as long as they put a good product on the ice, people will show up. And I think especially with this year, it's tough because when you've had a bad last 2 or 3 years, winless season, you maybe win like 4 or 5 last year or something like that. It's not always easy to get people in the stands, especially being a D1 team where that's the only one that students have to pay to go to. But when you look at it, when you put a show like that on Saturday where you get the shootout thriller win, that's just what you like to see. But yeah, first night 1-0 loss, second night 3-3. It was back and forth all game. I mean, Michigan Tech took the early lead. We would really tie it up back and forth, able to score 2 in the third, which was huge. OT didn't go. OT was just scoreless. There was a lot of them that were pretty crazy. Branshaw came up with a huge block. It was like 3-on-1.
It was 3-on-1.
He laid down, blocked the pass over. It was wild. Everybody was going crazy. OT ended. And then, I mean, dude, Stepan Picorni with a nasty goal in the shootout. And then Venuto basically called game and just closed it out with an easy snipe over the right shoulder. But yeah, that was a wild game.
That was a fun hockey game through and through. And I think especially with how we responded in the third period was definitely really I can't think of an exact word for how it felt for me personally, but just being so rejuvenated going into that third period after we had scored the first goal. It's like, we got this, man. We are in good shape. And then they ended up scoring. I'm like, oh no, we give up a bad goal in a bad spot. And now we're in a little bit of scrambles. And then we pull the goaltender with 1:45 to go. And then we end up getting the equalizer in just huge dramatic fashion.
Everybody went wild on that
which
one.
Also, who started that shot that got the rebound for that net, right? It was our very own Blake Evano.
Yes, sir. It's the MVSP. Dude, all I'm saying is we had Brad Merrick on. He popped off.
Yep. And then Blake did.
And then Blake did. So, if you want to win games, man, just come on our podcast. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, we got a seat for you, and we got some great guests coming up. But there's open chairs always for those that are interested in being on the show. But just had to point that out. But, certainly you look at the stat sheet, and it was certainly the night for Jason Branshaw. He was fantastic with 2 goals there on Saturday. Just really played a fantastic game offensively. And I think that was the biggest thing when we listened to Coach Daniels in the postgame was just the amount of defensively, this team was incredibly consistent overall throughout the weekend. They played pretty well. Michigan Tech obviously broke out of a little bit of the slump and got some offense going, but our offense, I think, over-trumped their offensive performance and really put the pedal down, especially later on in the game because they were feeling it, especially late. And you saw that in the shootout for how well that went. And I think that was really the main message that was put across by Coach Daniels. Take a listen.
I felt like, we leaned on Noah pretty heavy to keep it a 1-goal game, where tonight, and our defensemen, I thought our defensemen played very well last night, where tonight I felt like it was more of a team effort. Obviously, Logan played very well in net, but I thought we got a much better performance out of our forwards tonight, a much better performance. And I was really happy to see the guys rewarded for their hard work. We never could quite get the lead, and that's the only thing that would have been nice to see if we, I thought, when it was 2-2, I'm thinking to myself, geez, if we just get the lead. Then they got the goal with about 7 minutes to go. And, there was never any panic on the bench, though, because the guys knew they were playing pretty well. And, we weren't sure we were going to tie it, obviously, but we knew we were going to get some more looks and we'd get some more opportunities. So there was really no panic on the bench. I think the fact that the forwards played so much better tonight, that lent itself to the feel that, hey, we can score a goal. Where last night I didn't think we got the effort out of the forwards that we needed to, because they're a very good defensive team. And Patilla's really good in net. I mean, really good. And, so you need a lot out of your forwards in order to generate offense. We got that tonight.
Offense is what's needed for this team to win these games because we've seen the defense improve immensely, but the offensive performance along with that defensive performance is what gets us down the road in these big games. And we're going to have 2 big ones this weekend where we're going to be throwing a lot of different decks of cards, and how we're going to play our hand is going to be very interesting to see with Minnesota State coming back to town. Those guys from Mankato are probably so ready for this game, Joe.
Yeah, that's a tough looks for them, especially since we swept them at home. They're going to be looking for a big revenge one, especially after this especially where the standings are at. They're right behind Bemidji, only 2 points. So they're looking to get a sweep and back to the top so they can get the regular season championship there as the season's starting to get to the winding down period. But I think especially when you look at how our goaltenders performed this week, Logan Stein, he didn't get he didn't get any time at Lake State as Noah got both starts. He didn't have the best performance at the GLI, which was his last one which was the last performance. But this one I feel like gave the confidence back to not only Logan, but just the team in general, especially the fans too. Because when you got, the fans, when you come in, you're just kind of like, you kind of hear the murmurs a little bit that like, oh, they should put Noah in. But Logan stepped up big time. There was a lot of desperation saves he had to make. There was a lot of 2-on-1 breakaways. There was a lot of breakaways that he just came up clutch in. There was a lot of times where he just really bared down and really did his job. And that was a big thing too, is, when you're going to have these big games like this, Noah might have a bad game. Logan's got to step in. We had the best 1-2 punch when it comes to goaltenders, I think, in the CCHA, if not in the whole country. I don't think you're going to see a lot of teams that have this good of goaltenders on both nights.
Yeah, I think Logan's bounce back night was well overdue for how talented he is and how great of a goaltender he is. And we really saw that on Saturday night. I mean, giving up 3 goals, not the best stat line, but he came big in a lot of those big moments. And man, when he stays between the pipes and he can be locked in, I mean, he's one of the best in the country. And I think you can see that too with Giesbrecht. And I think just the 1-2 punch that these guys throw, it really makes it hard to game plan because it's 2 different goaltenders you got to prepare for.
Yeah, both nights, it could have been like a 7-goal performance for Tech, but Noah and Logan just pulled saves out of somewhere that just kept us in the game. And that was a big thing too. I think, especially when you have a 1-0 loss, it stings. But when you're playing against a Tech team that's really hot and is coming off, a GLIAC performance where they're playing really well, they go out west. I think they beat Arizona State, at Arizona State. I think at that tournament out there. Did they win that tournament or were they?
Michigan Tech won that tournament.
Yeah. So they're a hot team and they're coming off I think it was a split the week before against St. Thomas, but they're a team that's really looking to make some noise and get home ice advantage, but to be able to stay that close against a team that's just firing all cylinders and then come back and get an OT or a shootout win the next day, that's all you can really hope for, especially with Mankato coming to town. Can't wait for that one. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. Tickets are still available Friday at 7:07 as well as Saturday at 6:07 as well.
The new setup with the way the game works. We got new promotions. We got new events.
We got fan interaction in games.
Yeah, wild.
It's actually pretty cool
It's a
stuff
little interesting.
There. Yeah, shout out to Yannick as well as Lydia Pink for being the ice hosts during that game. That's a really cool element. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes. I think that makes it really feel kind of like a cool college venue.
Yeah, it feels like a professional event. Finally, where before just kind of we got crunch time and we got other stuff, which is fun.
Crunch time.
But when you have all that stuff, it kind of makes it feel like, oh yeah, that's like an actual thing. But next thing we got to get, here's the thing. Okay. Little side note for me. What they should do is they should take down we just got them. We just got the new scoreboards. I mean, we can keep them there, but the mural on the side with all the teams and then the Ferris State hockey mural that's above the teams or whatever. Mm-hmm. Switch those with video boards or switch one with a video board, which would be wild.
Oh,
you know how cool that would be?
That would be cool.
I mean, it's probably expensive.
Is the mural movable or is it actually painted on there?
I feel like you don't need it.
You don't need
it?
Or we could you could remake it somewhere else.
You can just put it somewhere else. Yeah,
I don't know.
It's not that hard. You can just put it where they come, where the main entrance, just on the side wall, just make a small mural or something. Yeah. So I feel like you don't need it. It's not really that big a deal.
I say we put a whole projector system up top and it goes on the ice for the video.
That'd be sick.
Could
you imagine?
I want that. Because
that would be wild.
If you look at how it's set up, you obviously would want it center up, but I mean, on the ends, it's hard to see. But if it's on the ice, everyone's going to see it.
If we were to ever if I become a billionaire.
Oh boy, here we go.
Or a millionaire or whatever, and I can afford it, I'll put this on record. If I can afford it, if I can afford to shell out $30 million, I'll give it to Ferris State Hockey. And I'll say, go wild with it. Raise the roof 20, 30 feet, get a big video board in the center, get a projection system so you can put cinema graphics and cinematography on the ice like they do in the NHL. It'll be wild. I just give money to them, say, go wild. Make it worth it. Remodel the whole thing.
All right. There you go. We need Joe to become a millionaire.
So yeah,
and according to that,
listen to this podcast so we can afford it.
Some listeners quick, fast, in a hurry in order to make that happen. So hey, maybe it's on the way though.
Maybe.
Make sure you also buy basketball tickets this weekend. Thursday is going to be at 5:30 and 7:30, women's then men's, and then 1 and 3 o'clock on Saturday, women's then men's, and then hockey. So you can say for a triple trifecta, which you can also do February 11th. Joe, the Red Out event is coming to town, and that's going to be an absolutely blast of a time. You can get your tickets now in support of women's heart health for all that fundraising events. There's going to be a lot of silent auction items there, Grand Rapids Griffins gear, as well as potential tickets I've heard for a lot of great stuff, as well as signed jerseys from the football team and all that good stuff. So you can find out more about that as we get closer.
That's going to be big time.
That is
huge for the bank account.
Huge for the bank account. And you guys certainly will make this a really good fundraiser. And we're looking forward to putting that on for you. Finishing out the show in the Ferris State Sports Report, track and field was in action at Saginaw Valley. A lot of great performances. You probably saw in the recap, 32 top 10 finishes dubbed in the header. But I think it went even more than that for all the great performances. I believe everybody improved or at least PR'd from last week and ran even faster. Some of the football guys made their debut in the 60 and the 200 meter dash and showed out. Tariq Brett won the 60 meter dash, 7:04 his first race as a collegiate track sprinter. And he takes a dub. Absolutely phenomenal to see that. Ralph Donaldson finished 7th in the 200 meters, 22:85 was a phenomenal time. Donis Harris won the 3K, 8:31.67, and that was after he went 4:11.72 in the mile, which is second all time, only trailing a converted time from many years ago. So he is technically since the first decade, he is now pretty much the mile champion outside of a converted time from a 200 track. So he's the fastest guy that's ever run on a mile on a 300 track, and I think that should be definitely mentioned. I'll even give him the applause button for that one. I mean, that's phenomenal, Donis.
Like all time,
pretty much. Yeah, he's technically second all time with his time.
Like D2 or like out of every single person that ever exists.
Oh no. They're like Ferris State second of all time. Right now he's sitting, I think, he's top 5 in the GLIAC, which I think would translate over to, I believe, at least top 25 in the country, if not top 20 or top 15 right now for what his time is, which is impressive. Donis is on a mission, and
Let's go.
Is absolutely taking names, numbers, and putting it to the test.
How that 4x4 go?
Oh, we'll get to that here in a minute, Joe. We'll get to some of those other ones first. But Andrew Shafley, that is 5th in the 800, 159.47. Mason Mullock debut in the 60-meter hurdles, finished 6th overall. Congrats to him. Josiah Flora was 7th in the 400 meters, as well as David Duvall, 2nd in the long jump, which I believe now has put him into scoring contention in GLIAC already in his second meet as a Bulldog, or third meet as a Bulldog, excuse me. As well as Abigail Winkles, 2nd in the 400 meters. She broke 60, ladies and gentlemen, 59.48, which is phenomenal. Kayla Roberts finished 7th in that event as well. The 800 meters, Nia Tyron finished 6th alongside Daisy England in 7th and Taylor Huntoon 10th. 3,000 meters, definitely saw a lot of that prominence. Sydney Kubiak was 5th, followed by Hannah Brock 6th, Winnie Farrell 7th, and Melena Strauss 8th, all within 10 seconds of each other in a dominant performance. Claudia Wilkinson was 3rd in the high jump, 1.58 meters, which has now put her, I believe, in top 8 Ferris State all time. She's almost getting to that top 5 mark here soon. I can definitely see it coming. Rebecca Marvin was 9th in the weight throw, as well as I believe we had Jake Zamita was back with the shot put. He finished 10th. That was his first meet back after injury, so he placed very well. Kyle Drudard also 5th in the weight throw. And finally, to round it all off, your boys 4x4 team took 2nd overall in the distance 4x4. Absolutely insanity went down.
Let's go.
It was
It
was so fun. And I think the whole 4x4 experience, first of all, a 400 meter dash is another animal for a guy that runs at least 5 to 16 laps around a track to just do 1 1/3. That's absurdity. But it was super fun.
We had to do the baton too, or you just...
Oh yeah, we had exchanges and everything, which all of ours were pretty clean. The first one, me and Dan Hardesty were the first exchange, and I think I came up so fast when I was going through the exchange when he was coming. I actually thought I was going to step over the exchange zone line, so I slowed down a little bit. So our exchange could have been even better, and we could have actually saved probably a full second if we would have had a clean exchange, or cleaner exchange, I should say. That would have brought us down to like a 3:36 with our 3:37 final. But we ended up doing it from the second heat, which is a shame because we would have raced the other two Ferris State relay teams, the mid distance as well as the sprint 4x4 teams, and we would have beat them, which would have been even more awesome. But now we have friendly competition going around in the 4x4.
What was your guys' time?
3:37 was the final time.
Dang, what was your time? Do I owe you a sandwich?
I ran 52.9 in my split. I don't remember what the wager was actually. Now I think about it. We'll have to look back at it. But I think there was
buy you a sandwich.
Somebody reminded me that, hey, Joe owes you a sandwich. And I think that means I either completed the bet or it was close enough that I think they're trying to consider me to wager for it. One of the listeners. I'll keep them anonymous.
No, I want to know. I want names. I want names.
No, I can't.
That's
do
like
that.
$10 that I got to spend.
Well,
I don't really mind that.
We'll say it out. We'll say it off air. But it was definitely a fun race, and I super enjoyed it just to get that experience. But no, it was super fun. The only team we lost to was Oakland's A team. We only lost to the Division I A team. That was the only team we lost to. We beat the other 6 teams.
How close are you guys to?
Probably like 7 or 8 seconds. Not very close, but I mean, hey, we beat everybody else. We even beat Saginaw's A team. So I think that kind of should show you, not necessarily that we're probably going to win it, because I don't think that was their true A team, but we beat Saginaw Valley. So I guess we're the champions.
Yeah.
You can play the music. We should add that to the sound effect bar list. Yeah.
Soundboard.
We are the champion. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it was super fun. Really enjoyed that overall. That was a great meet ran. It was a little longer than I thought it was going to be, but I think just the overall experience was great. I thought you just saw a lot of grit from this meet. Overall. We saw a lot of guys that PR'd and ran really good times and really good races compared to last week, which obviously the first one you get the rust buster off, and then you really start to learn where you're going to race, how you're going to race, and what's going to be the best method for you to run the fastest time or jump the farthest possible. But I think you definitely saw a lot of these athletes, and I think especially on the distance guys, the guys I'm closest with, that executed tactics really well. And I think that was huge going in to this meet, because now you have the real idea of what you have in your toolbox. Because I think that goes a little bit off the radar when people consider the whole sport of running. It's like, yeah, you're just running the fastest, but it's like, no, it's a whole tactical set. You have a whole toolbox of what is in your race tactics in order to make the best time. Because not every race is run the same. Not everyone's just going 100% all the time. They're going to run a race that's different. It's going to be a little slower, and that's going to build up at the end, or they're going to try to take you out and wear you out and try to run you the rest of the way when you're tired. So there's a whole lot of things that go into racing. And I think overall tactics and really just strategy overall, I think was really something that trumped this weekend as you looked at the results overall.
Yeah, it was big time. Huge
for the program.
Too bad I gotta owe you a sandwich now, but
yeah,
that's what I gotta do to make you run fast. I'll buy you any sandwich you want.
What sandwich would you buy me from Herbert's and Gerbert's?
One that doesn't have gluten-free bread, so then I would have to eat it.
Really? That was rude. That was just cruel, dude.
If they have gluten-free bread, I'll buy you a sandwich.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Say that.
But I think that was something when I was like thinking about it. I was like, what if Joe just didn't buy me? What if Joe bought a sandwich, but he didn't put it there on purpose? But I know you wouldn't do something like that. So,
no, yeah.
But I think I will really, off topic here for the last 5 minutes of the show. They took away the Apollo, and I am extremely upset about
Herbert's and Gerbert's did?
Yes, the Apollo's gone. That was by far, hands down, top tier, S tier, top sandwich pick I would make every time. It was like Chipotle barbecue. It had avocado. It had pretty much guac. And then it had what was it? It had ham.
Gas.
What?
Was it gas? That's gas.
Yeah. What else did it? It had turkey, and then it had mayo, which it comes with provolone, but I always get it without provolone, obviously with the allergy.
You're allergic. I was gonna say, if you don't get provolone, what are you doing?
But yeah, it's pretty much ham, turkey, and then wait for it, the golden tier addition on top of that. Bacon is on top of it too.
Oh, dang.
With guac as well. Oh my gosh. It is so
another side note.
Good.
Have you been to Jersey Mike's yet since it opened?
I have. It is good.
Dude, it is. I like Jersey Mike's. It's like,
what's your go-to sub?
I forget what it was. I don't know. My roommate got it. And I was just surprised me because I've never been to Jersey Mike's before.
Was it Mike's Way?
Maybe.
Did it have like all the juice on it and the spices?
It had paprika and stuff. Had like the oil and stuff on it.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So Mike's Way. Yeah. I always get the club sub, the number 8.
Yeah.
It's always really
good.
they
cut it fresh for you right there, like the meat. Like they use.
Yeah, they do it right in front of you. Which, by the way, that management has been fantastic because when I went there with my dad when it first opened. It was literally wrapped around the whole, like almost not the whole store, but like inside, you know how it's always like there's always the S curve and the line and stuff.
Yeah.
It was filled but they would literally start taking orders about 5-6 people behind the counter. Like, oh, hey, what you want, man? I'll do the number 8 with G-Freak bun. And like, oh, okay, I got you. And they're already making
that might be the move. I might go to Jersey Mike's after I hit the gym.
It was good. It was so good that I had it when they had the grand opening, and I went last weekend actually before my race, and I had that as my lunch, and I was fantastic. So I think I should be sponsored by Jersey Mike's. I think that's what we're pulling out of this episode.
Get the NIL deal.
That would be pretty wild, but
that'd be sick.
But yes, the Club Sub Mike Way is the official Brain Award sandwich of Jersey Mike's. But you obviously got to have the gluten-free bun, and you can't have the cheese. But it's still just as good though. But I think Jersey Mike's is good. I once had the Chipotle sandwich. That one was also really good. That's the one I had in Texas the first year we went back in 2021. And that was the first time I ever had Jersey Mike's. And we walked down from the hotel and had it, and it was really good. But it had Chipotle sauce. It was like the whole what is it? Not like the roast, but like the steak, you know, like that's chopped up with the Chipotle. Oh, it was so good. But Jersey Mike's, underrated sub shop, and I think needs more attention. You got to get over to Big Rapids right now and get one because they're selling like a bunch of coupons. Me and my buddy went buy one, get one.
Oh, dang, really?
Yeah, $12 for 2 sandwiches.
Sick.
That's $6 a sandwich. That's better than Subway.
Subway is pretty mid. I ain't gonna lie.
Ooh, is it? I think it's
best sandwich shop. Okay, we're getting way off topic, but I will say best sandwich shop in town. If you go across the bridge to Curry's, the truck stop.
Yes.
If you go there, that sandwich shop, the Monte Cristo, is so good. It is not even funny.
Great pick, Joe.
Give me one right now. I'd tear it up live.
Yes, the Curry's sandwich selection.
I don't know what they put in there. I don't know what they put on them or what else is in that Monte Cristo jelly. But dude, I said it once. I'll say it again. One right now, I'd give it the business. I'd tear it up right now.
Got to give it the business. But subs are good. Go eat a sub right now, wherever you
We got so far off topic. We got so bad on a tangent. It's not even funny.
Yeah, it is. But that's probably a good time for us to wrap it up here before we get crazy off topic. But make sure you subscribe, y'all. You guys have been great. Make sure you share this episode. Special thanks for Jack for stopping by, as well as you guys for hitting the play button. It's all about you. And we make this content for you because you know what Joe always says. Content is
king.
Absolutely. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube or whatever podcast platform you follow us on, as well as social media at the MVSP. And until next time.
Take care, everybody.